Deal. So let me just get that going. Alright, so we're technically live. So, hey guys, I'm here with the patient, Sean Alexander Allen. What do you like to be? What do you go on? Do you go by all three names or?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. There's like SeanAllen.com is like a country music star, so I was just like, I don't want to be a part of that.
Right.
I
Yeah,
feel like,
my Twitter handle is like Jorge X, and I found out that is a radio DJ in Mexico who goes by that name. So
interesting.
every once in a while, I'll get people like direct messaging me in Spanish, asking me about like, hey, so and so is a DJ down there, or when. Oh, I get asked show dates a lot. Like, when are you doing another show? And and I reply back in Spanish. I'm making up cities, so I'll be like, yeah, I'm in like Azteca. Just go there. And that was a horribly Mexican and racist thing to say, but yeah, Jorge X, Spanish guy. So I'm here with Sean Alexander on the inaugural interview series that we've yet to determine a title, but it's tentatively called DS Conversations, which I guess works, but I was going with, there was another one I wanted to go with that my editors just hated, but I loved it, and so did everyone else. It was called just The Indie Hole. So, yeah, wouldn't it be great? Like, hey, I just came out of, like, George's Indie Hole or DualShocker's Indie Hole. I was like, that's a great title. And they're like, no, man, come on. And then I went with another one that sounded super snobby called, I did, like, I made up fake Latin, so I was like, Gamma Obscurica. So, Latin for, like, obscure video game or something like that, but I don't know. So, for now, it has three titles. So, DS Conversations, Indie Hole, and Gamma Obscurica. But
DS Conversations is the best one.
I know that really bums me out because I just like
Although,
I've had Indie Hole on my brain like all day. I was like, I
although
really want.
DS is not good because there's the system, the DS.
Yeah, it's weird when we do things and we want to like, yeah, we're from DS, and they're like, you're from a Game Boy? Like, no, we're not a Game Boy fan site.
Yeah, you
Sorry.
definitely have to call yourself Dual Shockers.
Yeah, so like I said, I'll work on the title later on. But thank you for coming on. Thank you for being so patient.
Yeah, no. Thank you for having me.
We've been meaning to kind of finally get together. I've known you for years already, just kind of through
Yeah,
random
on and off.
events,
Yeah.
and for years you've been working on your game, Treachery and Beatdown City. How about
Yep.
you give us a little rundown on what's going on? What is the treachery going on in Beatdown City?
Well, so the story is that it's kind of in a weird dark humor, like mirror of current era events. So the world's the world's economy is falling, is like unstable, and the president Barack Obama shows up to East Fulton to do a summit at the UN, and during that summit he disappears. And later on in the day, and in Times Square, a video pops up on the news, and it's like it interrupts the news, and it's the Ninja Dragon terrorists are claiming responsibility for taking him hostage, and they want $1 trillion to give him back. And then the mayor, the corrupt billionaire mayor, Mike Moneybags, demands more money from the federal government, billions, just to allow the EFPD to investigate. And so the head of the police chief, Antonio Santiago, he realizes like he can't do anything because he'll be stopped if he tries to do anything. So he calls his daughter, who's in the police academy, and tells her to go get they share the same friends.
Mm.
Bruce, her name's Lisa. Bruce and Brad to come along and meet him at City Hall, and that's where the story sort of begins.
So it's an adventure to rescue the kidnapped president,
Yep.
Barack Obama, which is
Mhm.
I love that name, by the way. That's every time you say it, I just kind of giggle a little bit inside. Um, yeah, so let's get a little bit. How long have you actually been working on this game?
In concept, it's been in development since like 2009, probably.
Was this back in your Rockstar days?
Yeah, it was kind of like just a concept, like a lot of art and just writing and coming up with a lot of ideas that a lot of them I kind of threw away. But I had this idea for like 3, maybe 4 characters and like Brad like was the big wrestler character. He was the first character I made sprite art with, and then Lisa, actually I made Bruce also, and I had like this vague idea for Lisa, but I'm not like back then I was really pretty terrible at drawing women, and I've gotten a lot better since then. But also I just thought of it as a good opportunity for, my wife who she's a fine artist. She does mostly like feminist artwork, so she paints women. She's really amazingly talented, and I thought, and she really wanted to be a part of this project. So I said, let's collaborate, and you'll make the female character Lisa, and she, like kind of to weird like spec of like 90s, 80s like accessories, but like also trying to make her not overly sexualized, because
Right.
I didn't think there was any point to that. I think you can make someone, and also making her kind of buff, so she's like very muscular, kind of like I'm kind of trying to get rid of the whole weak woman
Right, because
stereotype.
the same woman is beating dudes up, so you
Yeah,
kind of have to make
exactly.
it somewhat realistic. It's not going to be a 96-pound, girl from Dead or Alive or something trying to beat up these grown men.
Exactly. And yeah, so then that kind of grew from there, and then we started building it out in GameMaker, and we worked on a prototype until about October 2012. And then this was after I had left Rockstar, and then we, were in talks with Sony about trying to bring the game to PlayStation Mobile, and then that started around October. But then we had Hurricane
Yeah.
Sandy, so that kind of like not like we started working and then lost 2 weeks of work because like we had no power. And then so we've been just pretty much working on PlayStation Mobile ever since, and we're looking to build it out. Like we're gonna finish the PlayStation Mobile version, which is the first level of the game. It's got 26 unique characters. It's got like a ton of content for one level of like, because it's like we're definitely not doing like, we're not going for beat 'em up brevity in any way. Like
Right.
we're trying to make, because it's also got the tactics element to it. So it's like we want to just give like this game that people can play, and they can play this thing, but it's going to end on a cliffhanger, and in the full game you'll be able to experience the whole story.
And like I said, it's basically just you and your wife working on this.
And I have a programmer. He does all the programming. I do like,
But you're doing a lot of the work. I
yeah,
feel
he
like,
does. Well, he does all the programming. The game wouldn't exist without him.
right.
But like, yeah, and that's key. That's absolutely key. He's like super like the rock of the project. But I like came up with all the game design. I did all the pixel art, all the animation for. Like, it's really hard doing 26 unique different ways of how to attack, and like I do most of the character design. My wife always, I let her, like, not let her, but I ask her. No, I ask her to like look and tell me like if I'm doing things wrong, or if like, and I ask for her to just make sure that everybody's like looking good, and especially just I try to take a concerted effort, because I have her looking over, that I want to make like women characters, like enemies or whatever, that are good and cool, and like just really trying to avoid the whole like stereotyping of everything.
And how is she on her feedback when you come up with a character design? Is she nice about it, or is she just flat out like, no, that's not how real people move? That girls don't look like that. What is wrong with you? Or yeah, what's kind of her approach?
She's very supportive. It's all of the characters have profile pictures where like you'll be interacting with them on like in kind of like a Ninja Gaiden 1-esque like head talking to a head cutscene, and so that's where she gets really critical, because you're trying to make these characters, and sometimes like I make the ears too big, or she's like you're making them look too old or whatever, so she helps me like sometimes I've had to completely redraw people, because she like I do all my stuff in Sketchbook and then I bring it over, and sometimes going from like pencil and marker to pixel art makes it start to look like it doesn't translate well.
Hmm.
And she's like like I went to art school too, but like her background is so she just has a lot better of an eye for what's wrong about something like immediately. So she definitely like helps me with that a lot. I think I put a concerted effort into these characters so that she's and we even talk about certain things like we talk about like we'll see somebody and I say like I think that's like an interesting character to include and she'll say like yeah like and then I'll get to it and she's like yeah I think it looks really good. She's usually really supportive because I try to make a concerted effort to make these interesting characters and she's like she talks about them and we talk about their backstories because every enemy has a backstory just like every player character has a backstory because I want to make characters that look the way that they would act if that makes any sense.
Right. And are you using the inspiration for these characters? Are you can just walk down the street and it's like, oh, there's that creepy construction worker. I'm going to use him for a model. Like who's maybe the most flamboyant example of one of the character, one of the inspirations for one of the characters that you're putting in your game?
I mean, one of the bear characters is this guy who's like really ugly, and like his character's name is like he's called Ugly John, and it's like I saw this guy whose face was just like crushed up, and he had just like you just looked at him and he had like these cut off sleeves with this giant belt buckle with like jeans on, and I was like, I'm gonna make that character into the game, and so that was pretty much like one of my first enemies was him. And I think I had a sketchbook with me, so I just sketched what the guy looked like, and then came home and then started working on it.
Is he gonna get a credit for the game at the very end? Like, are you gonna find Ugly John at some point and just be like, "Hey, guess what? You're in my video game." And
I live in Lower East Side. I usually never see these people ever again. They just kind of come through, drink till they can't remember who they are, and then never come back.
Oh, so your inspiration are really just drunken transients that just come through town.
A lot of people. I mean, there's. I mean, also got a bit of fantasy in there. Like we've got like a biker gang in there that I've done a lot of research, like on Google Images, just looking for them. I just kind of stumbled into like idea of a biker gang that was the leaders are kind of based on creator wrestlers that we used to make. So then we decided to make a gang for them, and also like we've got cops, and I've tried to. One of the cops is there's a guy cop, and he's based on kind of a mix of this guy who was like this. It's two cops that are fairly notorious for their roles in the Occupy. There's this guy who's like this bald-faced dude who had like really pink skin, and he's like a New York sergeant. His name is Baloney something or whatever. And he's like this is the real guy, and he was like seems like super corrupt, and there's like pictures of him on online of him just like yelling at people, like he just looks like the most contemptible human being. And then there's also the like red-haired bald guy who the famous picture of him holding off the mustard spray, just spraying a group of people, and he looks so nonchalant doing it. So we kind of combine them, and the character has mustard spray. So
that's a special attack.
Yeah, he has that, and he like uses that to blind you, makes it so that your attacks don't hit.
Yeah. Speaking of attacks, like when I was looking at the latest trailer for the Kickstarter, I noticed that this combat is semi-real time, or what's the best way to describe the combat? Because from what I looked at, it didn't look like it was just like a final fight, just hit X to punch. It looks like there's a little bit more. There's some nuance in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's like definitely I love Double Dragon. That was Double Dragon on the NES is one of my favorite games of all time. I really loved Bad Dudes also, even though it's I still play it, and I like it's a very simple game, and I never actually really played River City Ransom that much, but Double Dragon 1 had this interesting RPG element to it where you would gain levels based on there was like a little experience thing, and you would learn moves as the game went on, and I thought that was great as like a single player option. And I also played this game a long time ago called Hybrid Heaven, which was on the N64. It was like Konami's weird answer for, oh, here's a game that's on the N64 that looks a little bit like Metal Gear Solid, and it's like about like aliens and cloning and all this stuff. But the core mechanic is it's like a 3D wrestling fighting game, but it's turn-based in that you can walk up to people and you have to press a button and then you can do a move. Or you grapple the person, and then when you're in the grapple, you press a button, and then you bring up a menu to do moves, and you learn all those moves by attacking people. And if you get hit with the moves, that's how you learn more moves. So I thought, and that game was like, it has a lot of problems. Like it has this bad stealth mechanic, and so what I wanted to do is take Double Dragon that I loved and merge it with this like tactics idea. So, and I already saw that it could kind of work back in the day. So what it's is that like you can walk around and you can jam on a button, and there's like a minimal like 3-hit combo you can do that's really good for busting open like boxes, like trash cans or whatever, to get food and get like healing items, and weapons and stuff. And also when you have a weapon, you can also tap a button to use the weapon. But we have this thing. We have a combo menu where you press the button and you stop everything, and you open, and you can select up to, you have a combo meter also, and you have fight points, which are called FP, and you learn moves. We actually don't have an experience system. You just learn moves as you play the game. Like you'll finish a fight, and at that predetermined point, it'll say like, "Hey, you got something new." I find like experience to turn people into like sociopaths. They're like, "Let's kill everything just to power level," and I'm like, "No, like you're gonna have points on the path where you're gonna get locked out anyway. So I don't want people to feel bad." And so you'll hit this. So you get this combo menu and you open it up, and then you have moves that you learn over time, and you can do up to 3 moves at any time, and based on the amount of FP that you have, that's what you have to put in. Moves like jabs or whatever have the lowest amount of FP, so then theirs are the most accurate, they're the most reliable, and doing those moves, if you like hit like 2 or 3 hits, you'll get put into a combo state, which gives you higher accuracy and gives you bonus FP for doing a combo. And then your next set of moves will all have a higher accuracy, and then you can use that to do bigger moves. So like we have, like right now, you start off with like a few jabs and like a chin shot, which is a little bit stronger of a move, but then you get like a leg kick. And a lot of our moves have status effects to them too. So the leg kick will slow the enemy down. Their turns won't regen as fast. And when enemies attack, also they only attack pretty much in turn-based form. And then when they go to attack, you can pick to defend or to try to counter. And then you use like FP or like turns as that is.
Yeah, it seems deceptively deep.
It's
like, because when you look at the screenshots and at a glance, it looks like an entirely different game than what you're describing.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be kind of the pleasant surprise as soon as someone starts playing it. It's like, holy shit, okay, I can get into this.
That's been how it's been. Like people check it out and they're like, oh, so this is like Streets Your Age. I'm like, just give it a chance. And then what we do, like we used to tell them about the real-time component of attacking first, and people would get really stuck on that. And I found that just telling them about the menu and giving them like an example and saying, hey, here's what you should do, they get into it, like, and they're like hardcore into it, and they're just like, oh wow, this is really cool, because I love beat 'em ups, but they tend to devolve into like button mash fests. Like
right.
Even a game like I loved like Dragon's Crown last year. It's art style discussion. I actually wrote an entire article about like my wife's a feminist. Like I show her the game, she thinks it's a little weird. I think it's a little weird, but I also think George Kamatani has the right to do what he wants. But the game is very deep, but I still find myself randomly jabbing on buttons, not knowing where I'm on the screen sometimes. And I think that's a certain type of fun. And also, fighting games tend to have this idea where it's like you're fighting somebody else, you have this great amount of psychology, but like when I was a kid, I didn't know how to do a Shoryuken. And I still, like, to this day can't really play Tekken well, because it's a game that's all about like remembering, like everyone has their 10-hit predetermined combo that
Yeah,
I
and then
can't ever
you're
remember.
in your air jungle for like 20 minutes, and it's you lose the match because you hit the button too late, and you're just trapped in a 36-hit combo. That's why I was never good at like a game like Killer Instinct, as much as everyone loves it.
Oh yeah,
I hated that game because you would play it against someone who knew what they were doing, and you just can't get a hit, and you're just kind of watching yourself get punched in the face 103 times. And I'm like, yeah, this is fun.
and you also, you pretty much stick to the same moves because like you don't want to have to try to figure out all this stuff, and you play someone playing Marvel versus Capcom, and it's just like that's like that for me. Like I picked up a Vita when they had the Vita Lounge in like Manhattan when it was still coming out, and I picked up Marvel, and some guy's like, "Oh, you playing? Let's play," and he just destroyed me after he hit me once, and I was like, "Okay." And it's like I find that, and I find in a lot of those games that I can't remember my options. I can't remember, and because I'm trying to remember what the moves are a lot of times, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I have that move, and I start spamming that move, and then someone takes advantage of that. So the gameplay here is I wanted to give people a lot of moves that they could do. So like that's why you learn all these moves, like a leg kick or an uppercut or whatever. You're not having to remember any of that stuff. It's all on a menu for you. But the thing is the things you do have to remember is that higher points means it's less likely to hit. Like that enemy, it might miss, an enemy might counter it,
So it's a
grabs.
high risk, high reward type situation.
Exactly. So and you just have to remember that like lower hits are more effective, but you want to build what you're doing because enemies have a lot of HP and you can chip them down. And also enemies, they change their behavior as their HP goes down, so they start to get a little bit more aggressive as they get down. Like a guy might be just like the punk character, he tries to kick dirt in your face a lot when he has high health because he's just like, I want to reduce your options. So you can then grab him, which is immune to that, or you can just try to like whittle him down. But as you whittle him down, he starts punching you more. So you might want to try to pull out like a big throw to try to get rid of him quicker because he might whittle your energy down very fast. And it starts to get very intricate when you get into like 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 fights, because on like a 3-on-1 fight you've got one person who's a support character who will be casting buffs on the other two characters, and then the other two characters will probably be two different types, so they'll be trying to go after you from two different ways. So you might like want to walk up to some guy, uppercut him, and then turn around and do a pile driver on the other guy. And so you're not having to think about any of this. You're just like saying like, okay, whenever I open this menu, here are my options.
Are you finding any issue as far as balancing? Like, what's been the most annoying part in trying to figure out this combat?
Two-on-one fights, 3-on-1 fights, and the balancing. That's a part of the Kickstarter that we're doing right now. Is I've been bringing the game, showing the game to a lot of people, playing it a lot myself, and I want to spend a big part of the next year besides creating like double the amount of enemies, like going up to like 50 plus enemies and doing all this stuff. That means we're gonna have to give it out to people and say, hey, tell us if you think this character's terribly overpowered, because my friend will say, oh man, this move's super overpowered, and then I'll play the same fight and say like, I got killed, or we'll give it to someone and I'll see their difficulty. So it's going to be like, I think a big part of this Kickstarter is actually like the community aspect of it, of trying to get the game out to people. Like every single person will get it at least like 2 or 3 months early. So they'll be able to give us feedback, whereas like people at like a $40 tier can get it whenever we're like ready to like show off a stage. We'll just say like, hey, here, like break it, do what you want with it, play it as much as you want.
And what's that like for? Because at some point you're going to be giving, just almost not early access, but people will be taking an early look at that game. And what's that like? Just kind of surrendering that portion of the game to a person. You're like, it's not quite done. Just tell us what you think. It's almost like judging your baby while it's like 6 months in the womb and not born yet. And it's like, what do you think so far? Like, what's that gut reaction like when you're just handing it over to someone for the first time and they're trying it out? Like, what's going through your head when that happens?
Oh, it's gotten better. Our first time was at GDC last year, and Sony had their PlayStation event where they like let us, and I had the weird our game. it's crazy. Like we were having some loading issues, and the game wasn't like the moves were having a hard time loading. So once you got into the fight, the as soon as the enemy decided to go or you decided to go, the game would have like a little stop to load whatever had it need to load, and then when all that stuff was loaded, everything was fine. And I was like, I did the weird like AAA thing, and I was like, okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna have a hands-off demo. Because like but I also felt it was a way to like explain it to people, and I was just watching as like bugs were happening in front of us, and I was just like, oh god, like this is like hurting me, and I was just like having to learn how to like explain it away. But as the years gone on, I've found that, you know, some people are super intolerable of bugs or whatever, but a lot of people are super supportive, and they're just like, yeah, I understand. Like, thanks for letting me play it. Like, and people like this last IndieCade East, like people, like sometimes the demo would have like a problem, like the tutorial, where if they sequence broke it, they'd get stuck in a room, and I would just reset the demo, and you know, for the most part, people would keep playing until they had the full experience. So like I've kind of like realized that like I just need to be less controlling over the last year, and it's definitely, I think, done a lot better for my stress level. And it's just been like, yeah, learning about that. I think I haven't even given the game over to like developers, because I want to give it to them in the best way possible, and I'm trying to still figure that out. And like, I think a big part of this Kickstarter success is going to be like in the next few weeks, I'm going to try to get it out to people so that they can like stream it or whatever. Because I feel like people need to play it. Like every time people play the game, they're like, oh my god, this is amazing. But when I try to explain it to them, they're like, oh, I don't know, or whatever. And some people, like, you know, see like the video and they're like, I still don't get it. So I think like big thing is like actually getting people to play, and they're like, oh, okay. So the fact that people react very positively, and that I get like press who want to like interview me afterwards because they're like, oh, I thought this was like interesting, but then I saw that it was like amazing. Like it was just like this, like people were like, oh, huh, how cute, like a double dragon type game, and they're like, oh, you added all this like depth to it, like that's crazy, this is amazing. Like I've had like game design teachers and game designers who were like blown away by the idea, and so it's like it's definitely gotten easier as like positive reinforcement has come out.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I couldn't even imagine, because it's, you know, it's your baby, and it's that old adage, I guess, when you create something and once you release it onto the wild, it's no longer yours, but yours is still not quite created yet. It's like halfway there, so it's like, no, I can fix that. But no, yeah, it's good to see that attitude. It's funny you mentioned IndieCade, because I was at the IndieCade, was it last weekend, right? It was last weekend? Okay. You gave a talk there. Can you tell us a little bit what the talk was about? Because I actually thought the topic was pretty interesting.
Yeah, the talk was about me and my wife working together, and like kind of the struggle for that to even happen, because she's a fine arts painter. Like she has her master's in that. We both went to School of Visual Arts together, kind of in different tracks, because I went from graphic design to computer art, and she, like, I graduated with like like B's and C's mostly. And she graduated just because, like, I also had a full-time job the whole time. Like, I was at EB Games to GameStop, and so that's kind of how we met, like, in the flux of school. And I first moved in here during my thesis year, my last year of school, which was, like, 1,000,000 hours a day. So, like, we've had this, like, I've been working hard ever since we met, and, you know, this venture... like the difficulty of the venture of becoming the indie auteur, you know, like, and just also the idea that she was like, you know, you're taking so much time with this, I want to be a part of it, and me saying like, I don't know what you can do, like, because I'm super tunnel vision a lot of times, and just also how great it's been that she's been able to work on this, and just the little arguments we have over the art and how it's so much different when you're working with another creative person that's your family instead of like somebody across the internet, and also just like her reinforcement of like anything that we do. If she's like, oh, this is really great, then I feel like, yeah, it's really great, instead of like I might second guess stuff.
But yeah, it's good to have that kind of professional artist there to be like, oh, you're heading in the right direction, or you should probably do this. Yeah, I thought it was interesting just because that whole idea of, hey, you're doing a project with your wife. I mean, I would have nightmares when I would have to like collaborate with like a girl I was dating, and it would turn into a thing that now we can't work together because we'll probably end up strangling each other. So I mean, was there any of that, or was she pretty much on board? It's like, no, this is your thing. Let's hop on and see what happens.
Yeah, it was very rough. Like, I mean, yeah, definitely like a lot of like, maybe we're not gonna do this anymore. Like, I had a very specific vision, and just like I wasn't able to communicate it. I was like the classic art director who just didn't know what he was looking for, and that doesn't jive. Like, I mean, it's terrible when clients are working with you. It's awful when your wife, who is used to being her own artist, like she does her own art. She paints. In school, she would paint like 3-foot by 4-foot paintings with a palette knife. Like, it was beautiful stuff. And she's moved into more personal stuff, and she was making a web series even. So she's used to kind of being like a co-creator, director, having like the final say in a lot of stuff. And so when I came in, I'm like, no, this is not whatever. I joked, like, I was like, I use the word dynamic a lot, like a word that really doesn't mean anything, but I had to like, and I gave her a folder of a ton of art, and none of her art matched any of that art, but like I was kind of being stupid, like, and I just pretty much had to come to this point where, like, I asked her to come onto this because I like some specific art that she had created before, and I was like, you know what, let's work within that, and let me just try to give you more, because like I wanted this like that realistic but cartoony look of a lot of older brawlers, but like I had to just realize that, like, no, you're not going to give me what they made, because they made that.
Oh, hello. Oh.
That stuff. They were going to make this stuff, and so that was like the thing I had to deal with.
Yeah, lost you for a second, but I think I got that last
part. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think there's like the Hangout thing freezes up here and there.
Yeah, every once in a while. Let's talk about the Kickstarter, because I know when I saw you, you were about ready to launch and you were super stressed out. So I was happy to see that the Kickstarter went through, the page was live. Let's get into that. How does one give you money for Treachery for Beatdown City? Treachery in Beatdown City.
Yep.
I keep saying for Beatdown City like we're in support. The Treachery's in support of Beatdown City.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go to actually we put a like bit.ly/beatdown2014. Made it very simple for people to get to that page.
And you had some pretty interesting backer rewards. One of them was, I believe, was it put yourself into the game as a hero or villain? What's that reward one? Because I think that's the one I think most people are gonna want to be in. Like, they put themselves in the game in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I mean, we made it so that, like, well, I think one big thing is a lot of the art is huge, so you could have us, like, we could put you in, or a character that you have, or a slogan or whatever. We could make a brand poster for you that would be in like the background. We could put graffiti that we would work on with you. That could be your brand or your character or something, we all come up with together. Actually, Dave Lang from Iron Galaxy came up with his favorite team, GFB. So I'm working on that right now for him.
Dave Lang from Dive Kick fame.
Yep.
Yeah, Dive Kick was one of my best games you're not playing of 2014.
Awesome.
And
yeah,
people should play Dive Kick. That's a pretty cool game.
Absolutely. So yeah, and I did something like that for the Darkest Dungeon as a Kickstarter. So I did that. I offered that as cross promotion. And so I think that's cool, getting your brand put in the game as graffiti, but also, yeah, I'll make a sprite sheet for you and a profile image, make some moves for you, and then if you want to take it to the next level, we can take that and we can make you a special character in the game where you have a similar moveset to an existing enemy, but might have like, you know, 1 or 2 extra things, and you'll have way more HP and have your own cutscene that will write with you, and a bio written in the game where people can find something about you.
That's cool.
Yeah, so we wanted to really, you know, you two can be a jerk on the streets and harass people, and I mean, it's funny. It's good to be the bad guy. And then we also have, like, because we have, you know, we have the Ninja Dragon Terrorists, which are these, like, weird, flamboyant, like, it's kind of a joke on, like, you know, ninjas are this pop culture thing, and I feel like, what is a terrorist, right? Like, they're being turned into this pop culture icon where, you know, people don't know the difference between, like, a sheik and a Muslim, like, at this point. So it's like, people think, like, turbans are all, like, about, like, and they have this, it's really terrible, like, how we have these, like, awful, like, stereotypes about it, but it's turning into its own, like, self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, what is a terrorist? Like, people always talk about what's a terrorist versus what's a gunman, and, like, all these things. So we're, like, kind of flipping that on its head and kind of throwing this, like, ninja idea in there too.
Because ninjas can be terrorists, guys.
Exactly.
That's together.
Well, that's the thing. Like, and also, you know, back in the '80s, and this is a game that I think I played in the '90s. It was like a SNK game it was called the Super Spy, and you were running through like a building fighting like these weird purple terrorists that had like these, and I forgot all about this, and they're like, you know, they look like, a lot of them look like they're straight out of like Counter-Strike with balaclavas and like bulletproof vests, but then some have like turbans on, like, and like the hijab and everything, and it's like, I'm like, wow, that's actually a topic that people broached 20 years ago, and I forgot all about it, and I was just like, well, you know, we're in this, it's time to bring it back, because we're in this time where people are like I had to like text people that I knew during, like, right after 9/11 and say like, hey, are you okay, like Indian friends or whatever, because I'm like, I hear that they're like, or like a dude who's like Pakistani, because I just hear their people were like
just randomly beating up Pakistani guys.
Yeah, so I was just like, this is stupid, and it's like, it's just getting to a point where, like, Archer makes fun of this a lot, like, what does a terrorist look like, and so I was just like, well, maybe they look like ninjas, maybe they don't, maybe they have nunchucks.
Just watch one episode of G.I. Joe, and you have a good sense of the variety of terrorists out there.
I opened up, and it's ninjas, right? They're ninja terrorists, like
there's
in the
ninjas, there's biker terrorists.
Yeah, in the new G.I. Joe, it was like with The Rock, it's like people with like bombs strapped to them, like rappelling off of walls, slashing like the lines where they're like,
oh yeah, when they're doing that crazy thing, they're
yeah,
rappelling on there, and
yeah, it's super crazy, and I was just like, this is stupid, like, this is funny, like, this is just like kind of interesting. So, and also the story's kind of like vague. It's like, who are these people? So we're giving people the opportunity to help us design 5 of them.
Cool. All right, so yeah, we're kind of getting towards the end of I'm looking at the meter. It's like we're running out of time, but
okay.
I did promise you when I saw you that we were going to ask you some dumb questions, so let's do it. Start, just because it's a New York thing, hot dogs or pizza? Start with the hard-hitting questions. No idea what you want.
Hot dogs? Great supply of hot dogs.
All right, great. The worst part about being an indie dev?
Worrying about money at every single juncture of everything.
The best part about being an indie dev?
Being in charge of everything. The creative side.
The weirdest thing you had to do at Rockstar Games, if you're allowed to say.
I did a dog commercial once that wasn't even, it had nothing to do with anything in the office. It was literally for like a dog radio commercial. I was brought into a booth, and I was like, oh, so is this going to be in like GTA? I was like, no, that's for like a real life dog commercial. I had to like make it sound like I had been like, had like a dog poop on my foot or something.
And the most important question, because here at DualShockers there's a constant discussion in the next-gen console wars. So, Xbox One or PS4?
PS4.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
No doubt. Like I'm fairly console agnostic, and I'm more interested in the PS4 just because. Also, I want to be on the PS4. Like that's a key goal right here. I'm in talks. I would totally love to get out there. If Microsoft really wanted to, come out and invite me to their parties and say hi to me personally and like, give me hugs like all the Sony guys do, like because we're all friends. Like and it's not because it was before I could even develop, that I like became friends with people that are there, and they just have actively come out after everybody, and
they seem to be approaching the indies with just arms wide open, saying, "Come,
exactly.
Let's talk. Let's get your game on our platform."
But also just come talk and like come out to dinner with us. Come to our party. Like they have a party at IndieCade every year. That's just like everybody just come. Like that's awesome. Like even if you're not on our thing, we just would like to talk to you and eat our food. So I mean that just seems like the most open-ended approach to it, to just say like, hey, you're people, we're people, we like people, let's be people together, instead of like always assuming like it has to be about business, because it's about business, but it's about just creating these relationships.
You are trapped on a deserted island. Don't know how you got there. You just woke up, you're on a desert island, what the hell? There's a TV hooked up to a generator, don't know where it gets its power from, but there is only one TV show you can request to watch your whole time that you're there. What would it be?
Night Court.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Any reasoning for Night Court? Because now I'm curious.
I love Night Court.
Is it just the music? Is it the
Night Court's such a well-balanced show. Like I returned to it as an adult. Like when they released one season of it on DVD, and I've had to go about other means to get the other seasons. And it's such a well-balanced show. Like they made a joke about like they have like black characters on it that are just black people. They're just people. Like I think that's fairly big for a sitcom, right? Most sitcoms make a big point. They're like, oh, this is the black character, but like Mac's on it, and they actually made a joke where they reversed roles from Gone with the Wind, and Harry, the white judge guy, he's just like, I don't know nothing about birthing no babies, and then Mac smacks him, and it's just what I've never seen a sitcom that like kind of sub-referenced Gone with the Wind with a judge and his like assistant, but then they reversed like race roles too. Like so that's just a tiny little piece. Like that show I could probably watch forever.
Okay. And the last one. I think I said the last one was the last one, but this is definitely the last one. What is your favorite knick-knack you have on your desk? Because I'm always curious what people have on their desks. Or shelf. I'll let you expand.
That's hard. It's like so much crap.
You got to pick one. I told you, it's going to be tough questions, man.
Yeah, I know. I'll just pick this to be easy. It's a Zangief Mini
Nice.
Me.
All right.
Yeah, I just got it.
Cool. Well, if you want to know mine, I've got a little T-Rex. Like a little. Yeah. Yeah, I just got some random bullshit in my room. I have that, if you see in the back there, I have an old G.I. Joe battle wagon that's missing all the parts, but the wheels are still on it, but it can hold like 6 G.I. Joes.
Oh, yeah.
Had torpedoes and cannons, and my youngest brother was 3 years younger than me, so my parents would have to buy 2 of everything, so I've got 2 battle wagons somewhere. I got another one stashed in my room, but that's one of them, and I always proudly display that everywhere I go. But, Sean, Zangief, thank you so much again. I'm watching the stream, so I just saw Zangief come up again. I'm like, oh, you brought it up again. I'm like, oh, no, wait. Now I'm just distracted. Okay. All right, so Sean, Alexander, Alan, thank you so much for coming on. Let's plug away. Treachery in Beatdown City. Where can we? If we want more info, if we want to just give you money and say, the game sounds amazing. How do I get that in my hands, or how do I make it? How do I get you to finish it quicker? Go, tell us.
I mean, Kickstarter.com. Just search for Treachery in Beatdown City. We're the only one on there. Beatdowncity.com if you want more info. We have the first story up, links you back to the Kickstarter. But there's also a ton of little info. There's a lot of info about like when I was in school doing animation, a lot about the inspiration of the game, a lot about our travels from last year going to EVO and E3 and GDC. We've even got some like celebrity shout outs that who came by and checked out the game at E3. So that's pretty cool.
And are you on the Twitters at all, or no? Do you just stay away from that at all costs?
Twitter, well, the game's Twitter is beatdown_city, but I mean you could just follow me at a new challenger NUCHALLENGER. So it's just the U instead of EW.
That's cool. And I'll put that on the post anyway, just all the ways we can reach you. But I like making say that because it can give you, and I'm gonna give you 10 seconds. Tell us why your game's so goddamn awesome. Go. Unofficially counting, but go. 10 seconds.
So, I mean, Treachery Beatdown City is a brand new way to play brawlers. I love brawlers. Lots of people love brawlers, but they have problems. And we have our menu-based combat kind of cribbed from Fallout that makes it really unique.
Awesome. 10 seconds. You got it. Once again, Sean, Treachery in Beatdown City. Available. What platforms are we thinking again?
Well, right now the Kickstarter is primarily for PC and Mac, but we're really praying for, that we can get on PlayStation platform.
Cool. So you heard that, guys. Give Sean all your money so he can make this really cool game, and therefore you can play it, and then Sean can continue making even more cool games. Again,
the Kickstarter also just went up by about $400 in the time we were talking.
Awesome. See that? People are watching, I think. Maybe. I don't know. I gotta check. It's on my own personal. This will come up on the site, so it'll get some more traffic. And again, thank you so much for in the very first DS conversations or DualShockers conversations with or the Indie Hole or DualShockers Indie Hole or Gamma Obscurica. One of these titles will stick. I hope. I think I'm just gonna rotate titles. I think.
I just have a "It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia" thing going on. Gotta pay the troll toll to get the boys hole.
I wonder if I can get away with calling it boys hole. That won't work, right? All right, Sean, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for being super patient and indulging in nonsense. And
this was
good
fun.
luck. Oh yeah, we'll definitely speak again, and I'll see you around randomly at bars, and we'll get drunk.
Yeah, hopefully everything goes well.
Good luck, take care, and thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.
All right, let's